afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see everyone today. I just want to thank members of the media for being a strong conduit to the communities here in our city and for delivering important messages to your viewers, your listeners, and your readers. I'm privileged to be joined today by our Sheriff, Patrick Labatt, from Fulton County, our U.S. Attorney from the Northern District of Georgia, Mr. Hertzberg, as well as members of the FBI, the ATF, and South Fulton Police Department that is here today. Regardless of the season or the time of the year, this department, along with its partners, are fighting crime in Atlanta, Georgia, focusing on gangs, guns, and drugs. Many of you are aware of the initiatives that we play out every year with the partners that are behind me and others, making sure that we're fighting gangs, guns, and drugs in our city. And these initiatives are not casting a wide net. We use scalpels of the law, scalpels of the Constitution, intelligence-led crime fighting, and the partnerships to make sure we're going after those individuals, doing certain things in the places of this city, of this county, and the region that can impact safety. Going after those that are likely to pull triggers in our neighborhood. And these individuals do not remain in Atlanta, Georgia. They move across boundaries that are represented by jurisdictions behind me. And there's initiatives that we play out every year with catchy names. But it's not the catchy names that we have that denote the time they're working. It's the work that's being done by the men and women in law enforcement. And those cases are being prosecuted by our prosecutor. We're removing firearms from the hands they should not be in. We're removing drugs. We're taking individuals off the street. I'm going to go through some of the numbers, looking back just at last year alone. Last year, starting with Kickstart in our spring initiative, we arrested 108 individuals. Of those, 36 were convicted felons. In Heat Wave, which is our summer months, we arrested 103 individuals, 34 of which were convicted felons. And in Deep Freeze, which played out from October to December of this last year, we arrested 77 individuals, 35 of which were convicted felons. If you add those numbers up, the collective work of the agencies that come together for these initiatives total 288 individuals that were taken off the street. 288 individuals that were engaged in activity that, if not interrupted, more than likely have acted in gun violence in our city. 61 of those individuals were documented gang members. Those individuals had 81 guns that they were possessing at the time of their arrest, making sure that we disrupted the behavior before the triggers were pulled. And that's boots on the ground in this city of the collaborative law enforcement that's hard at work. That's our federal partners and our state partners that are going after gangs, guns, and drugs. I just want to point to the amount of drugs that were taken off during this detail. Drug dealing operations that are not stopped, that are not interrupted, will lead to gun violence. I can point now to the Midtown neighborhood of this city, which just 2 weeks ago had 4 individuals shot when a drug dealing operation was going on that had been undetected, that had not yet been interrupted by law enforcement. During those initiatives that I just gave you, the 3, 19.2 pounds of heroin, methamphetamine, and crack cocaine were removed from the streets. Otherwise, would have been kept in an environment that triggers would have been pulled. This work is done by a partnership that is strong, that is focused on what is right for our citizens, and that is our U.S. Attorney's Office that prosecutes our cases, as well as our District Attorney in Fulton County. There's our Sheriff, Patrick Labatt, Peter Ellis with the FBI, Ryan Todd with the ATF. We also have Major Rogers with South Fulton County Police Department, the Georgia State Patrol, the East Point Police Department, and the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department, who from every zone across the city, our air unit, our investigators, our specialized crime units, our civilian analysts, our E911 center, and our video integration center are working to make sure that we're moving the right people off the street who have guns in their hands that are dealing drugs in this city that otherwise would lead to violence. Those cases must be prosecuted. The hard work that is done, the dangerous work is done, places individuals in courtrooms. I want to thank our state's attorney at Fulton County for her work prosecuting these cases. And it's now my privilege to bring to the podium our U.S. Attorney, Theodore Hertzberg, for great comments at this time. Mr. U.S. Attorney.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate that. Each of the federal agencies that are represented here today, ATF and FBI, as well as Homeland Security Investigations and my own office, the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia, has been honored to partner with the Atlanta Police Department to combat violence in our community through Operations Kickstart, Heat Wave, and Deep Freeze. For the federal participants, that has meant deploying law enforcement and prosecutorial resources in real time to assist with apprehension and ensure that the worst of the worst are brought to justice in federal courtrooms. That's important because there are key differences between the state's criminal justice system and the federal criminal justice system. For example, parole has been abolished for all federal crimes, but it is available to most offenders prosecuted in state court. A federal judge can sentence a convicted felon to life imprisonment for possessing a firearm, and may be required to impose a sentence of at least 15 years in prison if the defendant is a career criminal. But the penalties under state law are more limited. That's one reason why, during last year's operation, we encountered numerous felons in possession of firearms who had already served time for doing the exact same thing and were at it again. But the involvement of federal agents and prosecutors immediately and literally on scene means that we can break that cycle and have lasting impact. For example, one of the deep freeze defendants now facing federal charges is Demetrius Benson. In 2017, 2021, and 2023, Benson was sentenced in 3 different counties, Cobb, Henry, and Fulton, for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Last November, on an Operation Deep Freeze night when Benson was allegedly selling drugs while carrying a loaded semi-automatic pistol, ATF responded with APD and instantly set the stage for federal prosecution. Given his criminal history, Benson will face consequences in federal court that are not available in state court. Our federal contributions are not limited to additional manpower at the time of arrest. We bring to APD's operation a data-based and evidence-driven approach to identify problem people and problem places. We work with APD to identify the armed predators who are perpetually responsible for intolerable violence and who need to be held without bail, imprisoned without the possibility of parole, excised from the community, and sent off to federal prisons on the other side of the country. To achieve those objectives, I have deployed prosecutors into the field to accompany federal agents on the streets, to assist them in the Joint Operations Center, and to lead multi-agency trainings on legal issues surrounding traffic stops, investigatory detention, search and seizure, and custodial interrogation, so that arrests can be sustained, evidence can be admitted, and prosecutions can produce appeal-proof convictions. 2 of the defendants being prosecuted federally out of Operation Heatwave, for example, were arrested on a night that I personally rode around in Zone 1 with agents. I'm particularly pleased that our partnership has led to the test firing of nearly 900 firearms that were seized by APD in 2025, and the entry of digital images of spent cartridge cases into NIBIN, the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. NIBIN is a powerful crime-fighting tool that has cracked cases, exonerated wrongly accused individuals, and ensured that trigger pullers are held accountable. For the first time, every gun seized during Operation Kickstart, Heatwave, and Deep Freeze that could be test-fired for NIBIN was test-fired for NIBIN in 2025. No U.S. attorney is as fortunate as I am to have Chief Shearbaum, Chief Spann, and the entire Atlanta Police Department as partners. Regrettably, in other parts of the country, there is tension between federal and local authorities, but that is not the case in North Georgia generally, and it is certainly not the case here in the city of Atlanta. All of us here today are committed to keeping Atlanta safe, and our community is blessed to be served by law enforcement professionals who work so well together to realize that goal.
Well, actually, I believe the U.S. Attorney just stole my remarks. One thing that's unique, you hear our mayor talk about Atlanta being not just a great place, but a group project. And so to have a leader like Chief Shearbaum in place where we actually, believe it or not, we text or talk nearly 2 or 3 times a week. And so partnerships matter, leadership matters. And so as our U.S. Attorney just stated, there are no territorial provinces. It is one team. It is a force multiplier that allows us to be more effective. We all know that criminals don't have jurisdictional boundaries. And so to be able to pick up the phone and enjoy a partnership that allows us to be successful and efficient is what this is about. And so there are no federal, state, and local politics, as I put it, but ultimately being able to reach out to partners and build those relationships before you need it. That's what this is about. And so we're in a place that we forecast, we know things are happening. They will continue to happen. So being in a place that we ultimately can lean on each other is something that does not happen across the nation. And so with that, I want to thank Chief Sherman, our U.S. Attorney, the FBI, all the partners that come to make what makes Fulton County great. And certainly the women and men of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. We stand shoulder to shoulder. We run towards danger with our Atlanta Police Department when many people run away. So again, thank you all. Thank you for your leadership. We appreciate it.
Good afternoon. So I just want to reiterate the type of work that we've collaboratively done throughout these details. We were able to collect a total of 81 weapons, which you see pictured here. And then not only that, but the type of drugs that we were able to recover is a total of 9,090 grams total of various drugs. And you can see on the screen the various types. But here's where we want to call to action. We know that the city of Atlanta, along with our partners, can't do this alone. And so we want to make sure we highlight the use of Crime Stoppers. We urge the community to continue to utilize our Crime Stoppers tip line, as well as sharing the footage, their camera footage, whether it's video, whether it's Ring, doorbell camera footage, Google Nest. Please make sure you're sharing your videos. And then last but not least, we urge you all to connect with Connect Atlanta.
Thank you, Chief Span. So it's a new year. Many will go out and watch the lunar eclipse tonight, this morning. The time we're going to change our clocks on Saturday, but then the collective team that you see behind me that is represented in each heat wave, we're going to be back at work this year. And so we will continue this year, 3 initiatives being executed by local, county, regional, and federal partners, going after those that present a danger to our communities. If you're a drug dealer in this region, if you're a gang member in this region using that gang affiliation to further crime, or you are possessing guns illegally, you're eventually going to meet Heatwave, Kickstart, Fall Frontier. We're going to be there. And you're going to be aggressively prosecuted if you decide to commit crimes here. Again, I want to thank our partners, our U.S. Attorney, our Sheriff, the ATF, the FBI, South Fulton, the Georgia State Patrol, the District Attorney of Fulton County, everyone that believes in doing the mission to keep Atlanta, Georgia safe. And I just want to again thank the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department. I see your work each and every day. I see the hard work you do each and every day for the city, and I'm very, very proud of you all. So we will take questions from members of our media. This time we can help you report this back to your viewers, listeners, and readers.
All right, we're going to start over here with Brittany and move down.
Hey, Chief. You and the sheriff both talked about this cross-collaboration and how important that is to these operations, and it's not something we see across the country. Have other agencies across the country reached out to you guys to learn more about what we're doing here in the city of Atlanta?
They have, and our team regularly briefs other agencies and other law enforcement collective groups on how we share information, marshal resources, and go in the neighborhoods looking for specific individuals doing specific things. So I believe it is a model to be emulated across the country. It keeps us trusted by the community, and it also makes sure we're being good stewards of the resources that are given to us by the taxpayers. And I think it's important to note, we initiated Heatwave in 2022, when we were going to see the highest numbers of homicides in Atlanta, Georgia in over 30 years. 171 people lost their lives that year to homicides in our city. And as we ended last year, the homicide rate in Atlanta, Georgia had dropped by 42% since that last year. This is one of those reasons. And there's many reasons why we brought it down, but our collective approach to fighting violent crime is one of them. Non-fatal shootings has dropped by 24% since 2022. So it is a model that works. It is a model that can be used across the country, and we're glad that anyone that comes to us to show how we're doing it here.
All right, Fox 5.
Chief, could you tell us again how many of these people arrested last year were convicted felons, and is this something that you guys have seen over the years when you're tracking these different suspects?
Yeah, we have a challenge in the region with recidivism. We will give you the total numbers of convicted felons. I know in Deep Freeze it was 35. In Heat Wave it was 34, and then it was 36 in Kickstart. What we really need to focus on is how many of them are recidivists that had been convicted 3 or more times of committing felonies in our state or other jurisdictions. Those are individuals that we would ask the judges, when you have that case in front of you, pay attention. This is an individual that needs the intervention of the criminal justice system and needs the attention of the judges. No low bonds, no laughable sentences, but these are individuals that present threats to our communities. And so when this team works hard to place individuals in a courtroom, we ask the judges to take note of those that are recidivists, that have been convicted multiple times, and should never ever be possessing a weapon again on any of our streets or in any of our parks.
11.
When it comes to these operations, if you could kind of just describe a little bit more what it looks like on the ground. Is it, is each operation 1 week in a season? Is it a couple of weekends throughout the season? And kind of, what that time frame looks like of how long the operations go on, and sort of how you pick the areas maybe where the operations are. Is it, tip-based, crime stat-based, that type of stuff?
That's a great question. I'm not going to answer it in great detail because I don't want the bad guys to see your report. All right, but I will tell you this: it's based on the needs of the city and the region at that time. What do we have occurring? What's happening in Atlanta? What does the intelligence tell us is what the cadence should be? How often should we be gathering the resources to go there? Then we look at data that tells us, based on not only reports of shots being fired, based upon individuals that are on parole, people that are wanted, where are we likely to see an area that gun violence is to occur? So we take a cadence that we know when individuals are going to be out and about, what the data tells us about a person, an activity, or a geographic place that science tells us that a gun is likely to be used, and that's where we go. And that's why you see, in effect, that the numbers reflect a safer neighborhood. We gave you individuals that we roomed out the street. What we didn't give you is the birthday parties that took place, the events that played out in that community that were not touched by gun violence. And so that is what the outcome we're looking for. The cadence, I'm going to keep that a secret because I don't want the bad guys to know. But we do use science, we use data that tells us where we should go and who we are looking for and what we want to accomplish at the end of the night. Everyone that will gather will tell you it's a very data-driven initiative. We know what the mission is when we go out that night, and we use a lot of resources to make sure we're trusted by the community when we arrive, and we're trusted by the community when we leave, because we use smart, proper law enforcement tactics.
46.
Couple questions. The first is just
one. We're limited on time. Just one question, please.
Okay. Can you provide any comparative data? So, obviously, I know these seasonal operations haven't happened forever, but if there were 288 arrests in 2025, what do you think we had in 2024? How influential are these seasonal operations with the cross collaboration?
Yeah, so we see the drop in the crime. And we can look at periods of times when we're deployed, we have no Part 1 crimes in the city, that we can actually see periods of time playing out where there's no triggers pulled in Atlanta, Georgia. We know that in 2022, we saw our highest year of murders, and we got busy everywhere. The mayor was busy with youth events, youth hiring, making sure he was mobilizing the faith community. This was our lane to be in. No one else is going to go, no pastor, no youth organization is going to go out and shut down a drug dealing operation. That's our job. And no one else is going to go out and shut down a organized group of gangs that are using that gang affiliation to bring about violence in our city. That is our job. So when we deploy, we can see an almost immediate impact of gun violence in that area, and we see the steady trend over the last 4 years that leads us to believe and know that we are making a difference, and that our deputies, our officers that are out in these neighborhoods putting their lives on the line are having a positive impact in the region.
So Chief has a hard stop, everyone, so we're going to move to the next portion of the press conference, if you all don't mind. Jonathan, if you can change that slide. We're going to start off with this video from the weekend, Chief.
What we're watching is your officers, and I want to thank Sheriff LeBach for providing resources this weekend as well for the police department. We became aware approximately Thursday of last week of 4 takeovers that were planned inside the city limits. 4 events that were being promoted, asking juveniles and teenagers and young adults together. Those were in the West Highlands community, they were in the Vine City community, and they were along the East Side Trail of the Beltline. Many resources were mobilized and were deployed. I am pleased to report that we had no issues in the West Highlands community, no issues at Vine City, and on Sunday at the event that was targeted there. But this is an area that I want to talk about. Individuals did show up on the Beltline. Individuals showed up. They were acting in manners that were illegal and disruptive and impacted the safety of the community. I want to thank our crime suppression teams. I want to thank our air units, the department officers from across the department that mobilized in this area to shut this down, address the illegal activity we're seeing. 17 people were arrested, 13 of those were physical arrests, and 4 of those were copies of charges. Of those 17 individuals arrested, we recovered 11 firearms that were present on the Beltline, possessed by individuals that were not legally allowed to possess them because of their age or because of the conduct they were conducting at the time they were arrested by our officers. 11 firearms, one of which had been modified to be fully automatic. The charges ranged from curfew violations to aggravated assault, possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony, possession of a handgun by a person under the age of 18, theft by receiving a stolen firearm, obstruction, terroristic threats, reckless conduct, fleeing and attempting to elude, and possession of marijuana. Wherever these individuals try to gather, individuals that are going to cause harm to the city, they're going to meet the Atlanta Police Department. But these aren't the only arrests that are going to occur. We are actively working to identify those that organize the events. We're going to charge them with the appropriate charges, and parents who allow their children to be out unauthorized after the curfew, we're charging the parents as well. The youngest person we encountered, unaccompanied, was 13 years of age. 13 years of age. Individuals were arrested from Calhoun, Georgia, from Decatur, Georgia, Lithia Springs, Georgia, and Lithonia, Georgia, as well as teenagers and young adults that were here city residents. And we're going to continue to make sure that this illegal activity is addressed so citizens can enjoy their public spaces here in the city of Atlanta. And I just want everyone to know we take this seriously as Atlanta Police Department. I am so proud of our officers that went into the area. We're making arrests, quickly shut it down. Many of you have showed the videos on your various platforms of the citizens that were concerned or what they were seeing. But I hope you know the police department was there quickly. We were making an arrest. If anyone's going to come back out in the future, they're going to see the Atlanta Police Department again. We're a growing police department, and those officers are going to be in the neighborhoods where they're expected to be.
Right, questions? We'll start on that side. Patrick?
Yeah, I talked with like a host of one of these events. He doesn't consider himself an organizer, but he said, you know, we have these events for teens because we want a place for us to get together. It's in a public space. And then other people come in and they deflect and make it chaotic and they get violent, and that's the thing that we don't want. Do you believe that? From talking with the people that you've arrested, do you get a better understanding of what the intentions of these events are, and are they being kind of taken over, or is that the intent of it?
We see individuals that are organizing wholesome events in our city, and a lot of them are partners with faith communities. They partner with the city of Atlanta. During Atlanta Public Schools spring break, we had additional centers open. We had a center open only in the evenings for individuals to come to in the city. We have our POW centers and our At Promise centers that are doing what you just described. That's who you partner with. Individuals that just call for those together with no organization, no adult supervision, nothing to do in a space. We are looking at to see is that illegal, and we're looking at what other counties are charging. If you are trying to organize something like a street takeover, I'm going to use that as an example. We've been very successful in driving down street racing in our city because our county solicitor, Keith Gamage, is prosecuting people aggressively, and then we're arresting the individuals that organized it. If we believe there's a legal way to charge the organizers, and I spoke last Friday with the Solicitor General of Fulton County, we are going to do that. If you're asking someone to come to a church, a mosque, a synagogue, to a POW center for an event that is organized, that has something to do from a set time to a set time, that is organized. That's what we all expect to do. Asking people just to show up to take it over, that's where we believe there may be a violation of the law, and if that is in fact the case, we're going to charge you. Be responsible here in the city of Atlanta.
11.
When it comes to, trying to be proactive from these things getting out of hand or stopping them, we've seen this happen on private property like the Battery, Atlantic Station, but the Beltline is something that's public. I guess, is there unique challenges when it comes to trying to enforce something like this on the Beltline versus maybe, a private property like Atlantic Station can maybe do additional rules?
And we're going to follow the law. Obviously, Atlantic Station is private property, and they have the ability to use their rights as a private property owner. The Beltline, that is part of the city. We have a broad range of city ordinances that we can enforce there, and we're going to enforce them. Disorderly conduct, the curfew, which is in place, a parent's responsibility to enforce the curfew. A parent who is not supervising their child's prescribed time will be charged by the Atlanta Police Department. We've done it already. We're going to continue to do so. So whatever the law allows us to do, we're going to do. But for this to be successful, we need everyone to do their part. Monitoring the children, having wholesome events, and that are well organized for individuals, not just calling for mayhem.
Channel 5.
Chief, we've seen these events, as mentioned at the Battery. We've also seen them at Atlantic Station. A lot of people want to know what exactly is this quote-unquote teen takeover, and do you know what the intent is with these young people holding these gatherings?
Not sure what the intent is. I'll let you all interview the organizer and then tell you what they say it's going to be. We know what the outcome is. Unsupervised children that the law requires to be with an adult that are out and about. This time, we recovered 11 firearms. Right? Your viewers have already told you they heard the firearms are being discharged. Our officers heard the firearms being discharged. And we removed them out of very chaotic situations. For it to be wholesome, it needs to be organized. For it to be wholesome, it needs to be supervised. And to be structured in a manner that people have fun. Just calling individuals to take over an area with no type of structure, that's where the police department is going to enforce the law where it's appropriate. And we are in communication with our neighboring jurisdictions. We are sharing ideas on what's been effective to tell this activity. You all see the outcome when it's not organized, and you all see the outcome when it's not supervised, and we're going to address that as a police department.
Last question is coming from Channel 2.
Chief, all of these takeovers are happening in very public places. Can you talk about the challenges that presents for responding officers?
Our goal is to make sure Atlanta's safe, and so when we arrive, if we see criminal or unsafe conduct, we're going to address it where the law allows us to do it using the best practices. Wherever it's at, if it's unsafe or illegal, we're going to do our part to make sure it's safe. I'm here asking parents and faith leaders and civic organizations and youth organizations to also do your part. Make sure there is plenty for Atlanta's youth to do. Make sure it's fun and safe and knowledgeable. That way the police department can stop by and say hello, and we're not putting anyone in jail for not behaving right.
All right, thank you, everyone. Because Chief has a tight timeline, we just FYI, we will have that presentation up on the website. It should be up, so you can use it there. If you have any other questions, just send them to apd-public affairs at atlantaga.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate y'all.
Charlie, does that include